production.
And Norton notes that USDA's conservation efforts also include a focus on soil health.
In the world of soil health and cover crop, continue to learn about varieties of plants, new species that can be incorporated into mixtures that promote soil health, increase residue production, and the delivery of root and plant biomass to the soil so that we're increasing the organic material and the overall health and structure of the soil.
For more information, just go to our website, southeastagnet.com.
For generations, we've worked the land. We've faced hardships and uncertainty before, but you can depend on Florida's farmers. We will continue to rise before dawn and harvest our crops, ensuring that Florida-grown fruits and vegetables are in your stores and that your family is fed. We are providers for our families and yours. We're Florida's farmers, and we're in this together.
Randall Wiseman, Southeast AgNet.
When it really counts, depend on the source for the latest weather updates, keeping you ahead of the storm. 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
Sunny much of the time today and cooler with a high of 60 to 64. Record low temperatures tonight. Clear and colder, low 36 to 45. Wednesday will be mostly sunny and cool with a high of 62 to 70. Some sunshine Thursday, then turning cloudy with a high of 74 to 77. Mostly cloudy Friday, high 77 to 80. Showers and thunderstorms possible on Saturday. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
That time of year again, you found that perfect gift. Now how to ship it? Well, Just Ship is the answer. Just Ship has a flat rate for package ship and curbside pickup with convenient weekend hours. Plus, even gift wrapping is available. Right now until December 16th, Just Ship will have free pickup or 15% off your total shipping cost. Shop small, ship small. Just Ship is located across from Yandles Building Supply on North Magnolia. Call them at 352-234-3840. It is In the Garden with Carol Ann Baldwin, Master Gardener, Carol Ann Baldwin. She earned the title. We don't need to forget leaving that out. Can't leave that out. Master Gardener, Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann, good morning to you first off.
Good morning. It's cold out.
Probably going to be a busy day for you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, lots of frost blankets going to go out the door.
Yeah, lots of frost. People are going to come in asking you all kind of things, but we get you first.
That's it. You got us first, yep.
I get you before anybody else.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I have 2 brand new citrus trees.
Yeah.
Bought at Bob Wine's Community Garden.
And nurseries.
Exactly.
The same blooming place.
The same
1958.
Exactly.
I think I got the year right.
It's 1950 something.
Yeah, I thought it was 50 or something like that.
But I put them in the Bob Wine's put them in the ground about 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So what do I need to do? Because these are brand new. These are new
brand
plants.
new. They're brand new.
They're still trying to take
and
root.
They're fairly small. So there's small enough size that you can cover. And I would get the frost blanket or the sheets or the quilts or something. No plastic, as we say repeatedly. No blue tarps. Nothing like that.
No, they don't stop anything. They get cold too.
They get colder, and actually any moisture that's trapped in there just freezes right on there. Do something to wear it. And if you're watching online, I'm making little tenty shapes with my hands.
Put a little stake or something.
Put a little stake or something so that it's not laying on the plant, and make sure it comes all the way to the ground. And then just put you a couple bricks or cinder blocks on it. I was telling you off the air, if you wanted to, because they're new, that root system is still new. It hasn't really set out too far. Get a couple bags of mulch. Don't open them. Just plop the bags of mulch right on the ground, right up against the trunk, and that'll hold some warmth just from them, because that'll help hold a little heat in there and keep them protected as well.
My girlfriend came up with a good idea of using pool floaties.
Yeah, the pool noodles.
Get the pool noodle, cut it and wrap it around the graft. That makes a lot of sense.
It makes a great. It's a fantastic idea, and you can leave that on there for a while.
You can use it, you can leave it on there the entire winter, probably.
Right? Yeah. I mean, maybe when it started getting a little warm or a little, I might pull it off, but it's handy. You throw it in the garage.
And
You
put it
in the
right back
garden,
on.
put it back on when it's going to get cold.
Because the graft is really where the damage can occur.
Right. The tree can lose and burn off all its leaves. So long as that graft stays good, the tree will come back.
Right.
But usually, even if the leaves drop, because it's a young tree, there is a chance that you could lose, because they're predicting a very long. They're not saying hard freeze. Long freeze. So there's a chance, with us here in the Ocala area, depending on where you're at, everybody's got a microclimate. That's probably why they have it such an extended period of time.
8-degree difference between. They say anywhere from Alachua County to the villages, it can be 28 to 36 degrees.
Right. So and that depends
on how much. You could be at a place here in Ocala that's 34 degrees, and you could be at another place in Ocala that's 29 degrees.
Right. Exactly. And it is. It's your little micro.
I think where I live, because I'm in an open field with cow pastures.
And you've got that air.
It'll be a little colder.
Because there's nothing to hold that warmth in, where in the cities and things like that, and subdivisions, you end up with that micro. I have a lot of trees on my property and surrounding me, so I'm apt to be just a little warmer, though in the summer I'm like 3 degrees cooler,
right?
Which is nice. I could actually watch my thermometer in my car drop when I come in the summer. Now I'll probably possibly watch it because the shade, it not warm up in my neighborhood.
Right.
But no, we're looking at doing frost protection for the next few days, and then we're going to warm up a little, but we're going to stay cool. We are into December weather. This is winter time, people. It happens.
It could be 80 degrees or it could be 50 degrees.
Well, but I think even this weekend is supposed to be nice, the low 70s.
Right.
But then Monday, Tuesday next week, here we go. We drop down, we come up, we'll drop down, we'll come up. It's going to be another cold front, but I don't believe it's going to be as cold. So my thought is, if you have a sunroom, a Florida room, a bright room that you don't use, maybe a spare bedroom that's got good windows, why don't you make, for those more sensitive plants, those potted ones, a place where they can just hang out for the winter? Yeah. Instead of taking them in and out, just make a place.
I'm just going to bring them in the garage.
Well, I mean, if you've got bigger ones, you don't have room for it. If you've got the space, the best thing to do is just bring them in and let them hang out for the winter, because then they'll acclimate to it and they'll be fine. A lot of times we bring them in and out. Next thing you know, we're going, why did all the leaves fall off my plant?
Well, because you've been taking it into cold,
into the warm, into cold, and right, you left it out when it went to 52, and then so it got a little chilled. But the next time you brought it in, and it stayed in until it was 65, and so if you have space. If you've got a baker's rack for plants, if you've got just some kind of thing where you can set and leave some of them, especially maybe the more sensitive ones, through the winter. I mean, you got December, January, February. You got 3 months. So depending on the winter, we hope we only have 3 months, but.
We hope.
Yeah, we hope. You never know. We have had cold weather into middle of March, even the end of March at times.
Hi, caller. Who's this?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Hugh.
Say, when I took the doggy outside this morning, I suddenly got in the Christmas spirit.
Oh, yeah. If anybody says it doesn't feel like Christmas, I'm going to smack them.
It's cold outside. On my back door, it's like a porch. Mm-hmm. And when I opened up the door, one of those little lizards was laying upside down there, And, oh, my God, did it die or something?
No, he was cold.
I remember this cold weather kind of bothers him.
Yep.
So I picked him up and I put him out in the sidewalk on the sun. Mm-hmm. And son of a gun, about 10, 15 minutes later, he was gone.
He scurried up.
He must have heated up and ran away.
Well, there you go.
That's it. Oh, yeah, this is the time of year you will find those little critters curled up, and sometimes if you bring plants in, you may find you have some lizards or whatever that'll be with them hidden up in there where they tried to stay warm, and they may even get up underneath some of the soil even trying to be warm. So don't be surprised. Don't be afraid of them.
But anyways, the sunlight, I think, saved the little guy's life. So it made my day. I feel very good about today, and I think it's going to be a good day.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks for the call, Hugh.
Thanks, Hugh.
Stay warm.
Yep, you too.
You too, Hugh. Let me ask you, we do farm and ranch headlines and This Land of Ours. And coming in today, I was listening. Sometimes I hear it, sometimes I don't. Today I was listening, and they were talking about gardens.
Right.
On This Land of Ours. And I wanted to ask you about this. They said that right now, a good thing to use in your gardens because of the cold snap, the gardens tend to be warmer because you put blankets out and everything. So ants and stuff like that.
Oh, we'll get up under, we'll get up under.
And they say that cinnamon is something good to use in your garden to keep ants and spiders and even gnats away. Is that?
I mean, if they're saying it, I'm surprised. I've heard of using ground cinnamon has apparently fungicidal properties to it, and the gnats I kind of get. The ants,
they said it won't kill ants, but it'll turn them around.
It sort of repels them. Well,
right.
So like cayenne pepper, sort of, if you sprinkle it like on your windowsills in your kitchen or something like that, they won't come up in through that venue. But I guess it may repel. I mean, it is a strong scented,
and that's what it said. It's a repellent.
And cinnamon is, if you have, if anybody's into essential oils, sometimes you have essential oils that are just fragrant. You can actually put them right on the skin, right out of the bottle. Cinnamon is not one of them. Cinnamon is hot. Yeah. Right. It's a hot oil. So that's probably just like a cayenne would act like that, but maybe a little more.
I'd always heard cayenne.
Right.
But I'd never heard cinnamon.
Cinnamon's probably doing the same kind of thing as that hot, the oils within that.
And I'd never thought about how your garden during the wintertime gets invaded by all these bugs because it's the warmer part of the yard.
Right. The mulch and the compost and things like that we add to it heats up a little bit, and especially if we have a section of the garden that is not being used right now, and that's where we're putting all those the leaves and the grass clippings and the compost there, because come spring, then we'll spade it in, and so that's nice and toasty in there. So you might need to make sure that you keep that watered. That'll help, just like a compost bin. Helps to keep the ants at bay. And, I think you'd be sprinkling quite liberally with cinnamon to try to keep them, maybe in a flower pot. If you're a little concerned if you're going to bring these things in, sprinkle a little in there. Might help to keep them from coming in and out.
Well, I think that's the major concern is bringing like my peace lily, bringing it in back in that and everything. Do you want the spiders to?
Do you want everything? Yeah.
Spiders love that peace lily for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a good hiding place.
Well,
and there's probably things to eat that try to come up in there.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people. I know I should not admit this on the radio, but I'm one of those people, all 290 burly pounds of me, all 100% man,
afraid of
walk
spiders.
into a spider web.
Oh, you get an aerobic?
You would think that I've been shot.
Squeal like a girl.
I'm screaming, I'm white swiping and everything. And it always seems, why is it that it always seems it's right at face level?
That's one of those, that is... Yeah, that you get the best aerobic workout encountering a spider web.
And the smaller the spider, the bigger the web, I think.
Yeah. Well, they need a bigger area to work.
or at least I could see a banana spider.
Yeah.
Web,
well, sometimes, but
But
those little ones, little ones.
Although I made the mistake one time.
Okay.
Of killing one of the spiders that had its back was all humped up and full.
Yeah.
Not realizing that when I killed that spider,
all the babies,
thousands of babies would
bail. Yeah, you didn't realize that was all babies on there.
All babies. Yeah. So when I killed Mom, the babies just went thousands.
Mm-hmm.
My wife at the time goes, "Now what are you going to do, Sparky?"
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, burn the house down and rebuild.
Yeah. It's a plant.
But spiders can help plants too.
But spiders are beneficial. They are the one, I think, that freak us out the most, because we do suddenly walk into that web
without
seeing it, and sometimes you don't even see the spider. Now we do have the big, we all call them banana spiders. They're what is it, golden thread orb weavers is
They're
actually
not
they're not
right.
banana spiders actually, but they're the ones that it's gigantic.
We call wood spiders. They're not really wood spiders.
Right,
they live in the woods.
They live in the woods, and and the house spiders and that, but because they eat bugs.
Yes, they
eat other insects. Now they're not particular, so sometimes they do eat your caterpillars that you're doing because you like butterflies.
Because it wanders onto the web and it gets eaten.
That's part of the cycle of life. Hey, get the whole Lion King thing going.
Yeah.
Same thing with wasps. I mean, those stinging evil devils are beneficial insects also, because they can be pollinators as well as predators.
They're beneficial when they're dead.
Yeah, that's usually my thought as well. I mean, I got stung one time, and I went and I said, "Ooh, where'd you come from?"
No, I have anaphylactic issues and everything, so I don't like them at all.
Yeah, no,
I'll break out in hives. Yeah. Depending on how bad, where the sting is, I could my throat can close
up. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. The last time I was stung, one of those big bumblebees got me in the hip and knocked me off my feet.
Yeah.
And people think those big bumblebees are these nice looking creatures. They'll sting you, and when they sting you, they pop.
Yeah.
But they're still a beneficial insect.
Beneficial insect, and that was just his defense mechanism. Because normally those are, when you find the solitary bees and the solitary wasps, they're ones that are generally gentle. You can, so long as you don't
smack at
them or get them pinched between your body.
Right.
Because I work with plants all day. We have tables that are just full of flowering plants that attract what? Bees and wasps.
Because that's what they do. They're
right. That's what they're meant to do. And we put our hands and arms, bare arms, through them all day long. And I'm trying to think. I think one person in the garden center got stung this year. In the plant area, not back by where the paper wasps all hang out in the beams. And it's like they don't, because they're solitary. So long as you don't pinch it between your body somehow, usually they leave you alone.
Now, when a bee pollinates or a bee does pollinate, that's actually their eating cycle or something.
They're collecting the pollen, carrying it back to the hive in order to turn it into honey and to consume.
Right.
And your butterflies come through. They collect nectar. They pass some pollen around as well.
Without them, there would be no circle of life. You always hear.
Without them, there would be no.
You hear the honeybee.
Curcuma.
You hear if the honeybee goes away, life as we know it goes away.
As we know, but the native honeybee, or the European honeybee, is not native to the United States.
Right. Okay.
So there are other bees. But if you were to rid the world of the pollinators, you would have. If
you rid the world of all the pollinators.
Yeah. Because corn is pollinated by the wind. Tomatoes are pollinated by the wind. A lot of things are. It's your curcubas, all your cucumbers, your melons, your squash, all of those, because they're deep flowers.
They would go away.
Or have a very difficult time. The production would be
because I know growing up as a kid in South Georgia, peanuts didn't so much need the bees.
No, peanuts, yeah.
But you'd be amazed how the tobacco crop needs the bees. Because they have the big flowering flutes on the top of it.
Right, but that's for your seed production.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we come and pinch it off.
Right.
Because without the bees pollinating that flower, you wouldn't get the seed production.
You wouldn't get seed, right. You wouldn't get seed production. And a lot of things bees will attract to them, but they're not necessarily necessary for the food or the crop to happen.
It's for simply the seeds.
Broccoli seed and things like that. If you let a broccoli go to flower, because we eat the bud.
Right.
On that, when it starts to open up and the little yellow flowers happen,
what we eat.
But we don't want it open. But once they start to open, they attract the bees. So in the springtime, allowing a plant or two in the garden to go to flower is helping the bees in your garden, because it will give those early bees a little something to feed on before the other flowers are coming on. Because it was a winter grower, going to flower early.
Right, and now it helps.
It helps to attract them into your garden area
for
to
everything
them,
that's about to flower.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and that's what people don't, we snap off the top of tobacco flowers. And people go,
right, because you want leaf growth.
But we want leaf growth. We don't want the flower, but the flower's where the seeds are.
Right.
So you still have to
So you're leaving,
right.
so you leave some of that if you're collecting your own seed for that to go to seed.
And I mean, very few tobacco farmers collect their own seeds.
No, but there's got to be somebody.
Right, but that's how they used to do it.
Yeah, because I'm sure they're not cloning. I'm sure they're not doing cloning on that. It's just too big of an industry.
But it's the way the inner workings of bugs work in harmony with plants, and work in harmony with the wind and water.
Right.
It's an amazing thing.
Oh, it is. It is. It's one of those. It is the whole circle of life kind of thing.
So with this first freeze, bugs are going to go away.
They're just going to hide. They're going to hide. Some of them may go dormant for the season, or at least until we have a significant warm up. They'll be back. Yeah. This isn't going to kill off a whole lot of mosquitoes.
Will it kill the larva though?
Only if the water froze.
If the water freezes, yeah.
Yeah, and usually when we have a freeze, if it's deep water, it doesn't freeze all the way down. If it's the bird bath, you should be keeping that clean anyway. Any stagnant water.
People that have the tires with water in them and everything. Those, if that freezes, but I'm not even sure. I'm sure if somebody has some bird baths, we'll hear. We'll hear about it in the next coming days, and all through social media of how much froze. And I may purposefully set something out just to see if it freezes. Yeah. I'm looking at the weather for the next, all the way through, let me see, what am I looking at here? All the way through Tuesday the 15th.
Okay.
The projected. It's got us at 31 degrees tonight.
Okay.
In our area. Then on the second, it has us at 36 degrees. Then on Thursday it goes to 73.55.
Right. That's seasonal. Right.
Then it goes 73.58. Saturday and Sunday though it goes back to 64 degrees for the high, the mid 40s, and then Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, all the way through the 10th of next week, next Thursday. They never get us out of the 60s, and never get us higher than about 49 as our low. And there's 2 nights where it's 39 degrees.
Yeah.
So we're in for not a normal cold snap, because usually a normal cold snap this time of year, couple days and it's gone.
Then we're back. Yeah, we're back up into that mid 70s, and we stay there for another week.
We're going to be about 10, 12 degrees cooler this time for about 8 days.
Yeah. And usually, if anybody who's lived here for any length of time knows, we normally go from what we had last week, either hot. or even seasonal. Say a 75, 76 degrees, and we'll drop down. And if it's a full moon, which we have full moon, so that's when it gets its coldest, and then it creeps back up, and then it goes back down, and then it creeps back up, and it's one of those days, one of those kind of things is you can almost count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and mark it on your days up and down of how that temperature climbs up and climbs down and goes up and down And with the coldest, normally, if there is a cold front that comes through during a full moon, that's when you're coldest. You're full and your new moon.
Do we see, though, our coldest time of the year in our area, generally the end of January, the 1st of February?
Yeah.
That just mind boggles me.
Yeah. Now, if anybody recalls back in the 89, was it 89 that we had? We may have to, I don't have the laptop with me. Had the cold snap that was right before Christmas, where we dropped down and it was ice. And you couldn't get out of Ocala.
I think 88 or 89.
80, I think it was 89 because my daughter was like 4. And she wanted it, and we had ice all over the place.
Yeah, Jacksonville was in the ice. We were in ice in Statesboro.
Yep.
It was 89 because it was the same year as Hurricane Hugo.
Okay, yep, okay. And that was and it
was ice all in Atlanta.
You couldn't leave Ocala because there's bridges,
right?
Or in and out of everything, and everything was frozen. I mean, I went to the store and come out, and guess what? You had to bang on the door to get the ice that happened the 2 hours you were shopping.
Yeah.
But you know what? There wasn't nobody saying it didn't feel like Christmas.
Well.
To me, it did because I was freezing.
To me, growing up in Florida and South Georgia all my life,
cold is not Christmas.
To me, feeling like Christmas is shorts and a T-shirt, riding your bicycle to just a guy.
That's right, for Christmas. That's right.
You know, I have
having a cookout out in the backyard
100%. Putting a turkey on the smoker and cooking for Christmas Day.
Sitting outside at the picnic table to have dinner.
Yes. I have a friend of mine from Worcester, Mass. That he said he hated Christmas because he had to wait when he would get something that he had to use outdoors, like a bicycle or something. He had to wait 3 months.
Right, to be able to use it.
Torture him. It'd be in the garage, and he would be like, "I can't ride the bike because there's no place to ride it."
Dusty, and the tires needed air by the time he could use it.
Yeah. So I'm glad I never lived up north.
Yeah.
North Carolina was as close as I got, and I lived in the mountains of North Carolina,
which is
in Boone.
Cold.
I lived in between Boone and Linville. You know, right there in Watauga County and Avery County, and it was cold up there because it was at like 6,300 feet.
Yeah, you get up there in the mountains and it's cold.
You know, and the clouds would come over the mountains and just hang there.
At least one thing today: we're cold, but we have the sun. If you can get out of the wind, it's not going to feel that bad. But that wind's blowing, which is making that temperature feel just a bit colder.
Yeah.
And we've got that too going. Wind chill, and I know you've been talking about, watch out if you know anybody who's elderly. Make sure their heat's coming on for them. Maybe bring them a bowl of soup or a thermos full of coffee or something like that. Some chili.
Chili's such a good food now. We're coming back after this timeout with more from Master Gardener Caroline Baldwin in the garden. Give us a call, 622-9622 is the number to call. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Dr. Scott Atlas has resigned from the Trump administration's coronavirus team. He joined the White House back in August. His special appointment as a government employee was set to expire next week. Operation Warp Speed COVID-19 vaccines will have a final FDA approval meeting on December 10th. They will start being delivered within hours of the approval to frontline workers and the most vulnerable in our communities. Warp Speed leaders say every American that wants the vaccine will have the ability by late spring. Their message is, if 70% of Americans take the vaccine, COVID-19 will naturally die itself out. Oregon's race-based COVID-19 relief program for small businesses is for blacks only. This goes against the 14th Amendment of the Constitution and is now facing 2 separate lawsuits. The state has already doled out half the $62 million and will probably be gone by the time the courts step in. Thank you for listening. We are USA Radio News.
Greg Kelly Reports is breaking ratings records. It's the hit new show on Newsmax TV. President Trump was recently on Greg Kelly, and every night more than 2 million people tune in. Kelly is a former combat Marine pilot and White House correspondent. He's asking the tough questions the media won't. Tune into Greg Kelly on Newsmax at 7 p.m. Eastern. Plus, watch Newsmax for Dick Morris, Rudy Giuliani, Michelle Malkin, Alan Dershowitz, Diamond and Silk, Mike Huckabee, and a lot more. Newsmax is on all major cable systems like DirecTV, Dish, Xfinity, Cox, Optimum, Spectrum, Fios, and more. If you don't get Newsmax, call your cable operator today. Tell them you want it. Plus, watch Newsmax TV for free on Roku, Zumo, YouTube, Pluto, Apple TV, and even smart TVs like Samsung Plus and LG. Newsmax is already one of America's top cable news channels. Find out why. Watch it today. Newsmax is real news for real people. You should watch Newsmax.
Veterans Helping Veterans USA. Call 352-433-2320. We help veterans and their families with limited financial assistance, counseling, employment referrals, and a food and clothing bank. You can help in making a huge difference in the veterans' lives we serve by donating food, clothing, household items, or direct financial assistance. All donations are tax deductible. Veterans Helping Veterans USA. 352-433-2320. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America. started in 1975. It's Yendel's Building Materials. Whether you're making repairs, adding a room, or building a house, Yendel's constantly delivers excellent service and top quality materials and many of the tools and hardware you need to get the job done. At Yendel's, they take pride in supplying their customers with new and innovative products. Yendel's experience in truss design, manufacturing, and component materials is second to none. 834 North Magnolia Avenue in Ocala, 732-3000. Stop by to experience the difference.
You want to give them a real creative Christmas gift? How much you really care for them? Show them how much you care with an heirloom camellia from Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala. Bob has hundreds, no make that thousands of camellias to choose from, starting as low as $9.99, and you can spend up to $100 or more. No matter what, it's a gift, a better gift than the usual humdrum. How about a gift certificate? Buy as gifts, get free gift certificates for yourself, only at Bob Wines. And don't leave until you check inside the old-timey greenhouse for 20% off on hundreds of distinctive one-of-a-kind items. Take some time to visit this week. A gorgeous 5-acre garden any day till 4, Saturdays till 3. Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, southeast of
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. In addition to our pasture mowing and tractor services, including zero-turn mowers for your fence line finish, we also offer rototilling and fence row spraying. We are family-owned and operated, licensed and insured, and farm-ready. Powell Gene, Gene, at yahoo.com, 352-629-2440. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. Gene is a proud United States veteran.
You need to relax. It's only a drive away. We're talking about Miami Beach, Florida. Yes, that Miami Beach, with its 7 miles of beaches. Miami Beach with its international cuisine. Miami Beach with its art and culture. That's right, you could win a hotel stay in Miami Beach and a tank full of gas. But you can only win if you call in and give us your name and phone number. Just call 352-732-8000. That's 352-732-8000. From your friends here at WOCA The Source, paradise is only a drive away. Welcome back to In the Garden with Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. She joins us as she does every Tuesday to give us her advice on what we should do about our gardens and our plant life in and around our homes and properties. And with the cold snap, it's even more invaluable, the advice you're giving us.
Yeah, right. And right now, actually, we're nice and sunny right now. We got a smidge. We got a rain. I mean, less than 1/4 of an inch, I think, around
yesterday morning.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. So if you have anything with the wind blowing,
we got 6/10 where I live.
Okay, so
but I live out north, 326
and again,
Silver Springs area.
It varies. It varies throughout. If you are going to bring plants in, water them well. Let them drip. Now, go ahead and get them watered while the sun's shining. If you have shrubbery or other maybe tender perennial or shrubs, things like that, you have ixora or hibiscus, things like that you can't bring in, make sure they're not water stressed. They need to be well watered. Don't water the foliage, just water the ground underneath them. Get out there with the hose, and better to do it during the day than at 5 o'clock this evening as the sun's going down, because that moisture, that water in there will warm up a little bit. It'll warm that soil, and when you put that frost cover over, it needs to come all the way to the ground because it's holding that heat from the ground in, you're not capturing warm air and getting that over there. And because we're going to be cold for a few days, if you're using frost blankets, you can go ahead and leave them on a couple days. It's not going to hurt them.
Yeah, if you leave them on 5 or 6 days without sunlight, that
right.
Well, 24 hours, 48 hours.
48 hours, you're okay. If you have the time in the morning, the problem is that our coldest temperatures have a tendency to run from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And if you're leaving for work at 7 and it's still below freezing and you uncover them,
issues.
You're just going to do the damage. So if you're not able to be there till the temperature's warmed above 40, just let the blanket stay on. It's not going to hurt it.
Let me ask you this though, because this is what I do every morning before I leave. I 3 times a day we water the citrus trees. Back to the citrus trees.
Right.
They tell me I got a 1-gallon bucket.
Okay.
And I put 1 gallon of water 3 times a day on.
Okay.
And the surrounding ground around it.
Right.
To keep it moist.
Pretty much you're just
I've got still got the little bowl that they make with the dirt and everything. I fill that bowl up and now I'm pouring it on top of that dirt and everything. And the bowl's starting to go away.
Right.
Start to spread. So I do that when I leave in the mornings. Then we do it around 1.
Lunchtime-ish, yeah.
And then we do it at about dusk.
Okay.
Will it harm my plant tomorrow morning if it's 30 degrees when I leave the house to go out there and put water around the base of it?
No.
Okay.
No, because you're not wetting the whole thing. You're going out there with a water jug.
Yeah, I'm wetting the dirt.
You're just putting some water down on the dirt, and the water's not going to be ice cold. It's not also going to be hot. It's just going to be room temperature water, and that's fine.
Now, these were in 5-gallon buckets when we got them.
Okay.
They've been in the ground for 3.5 weeks now, I think. How much has the roots moved in those kind of trees that were in buckets, 5-gallon buckets?
Probably not a whole lot.
Inch and a half, maybe 2 inches?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
They're just trying to still grab the ground.
Right. They're still trying to grab the ground. Usually you're looking at 6 weeks or so on things like if you're taking plants and say you're going to do some cuttings, and you take all your little cuttings and you throw them all in one pot, and you make your little greenhouse over it, keep it in the house to where it's warm, you don't have to mist it all the time, nice humidity in there. It takes about 6 weeks before you can feel that you can grab them and give them a little tug, and you might pull them out if you tugged hard, but if you just gently pull on them, you'll feel the resistance to some roots. Or same thing even when you start seed. You don't have much, seed's going to grow quickly because usually that soil is like fantastic for them. But you're still looking at 6 weeks before you have something transplantable to another pot to where you have a sturdy enough root system. So it takes about 6 weeks or so before it's really knitted itself to the ground. Sod, we always say like 30 days. This time of year, heat. That when, the colder weather, it'll go dormant, it'll make its root system, you still continue to water for that so that it's actually kind of keeping the ground a little warmer. And so even this evening, you go home, put that water down one more time, cover them over, and they should be fine.
Harder now than it used to be. Back in the day, you could go get one of those temporary work lights that you got from the park store or something. And you put it out there with an extension cord and a 75-watt floodlight bulb, and the tree would be asking you, could you remove this blanket for me, please?
Yeah, I'm getting a little warm. He starts flapping it.
It's a little hot in here. It's not July. What the hell's going on?
But now just try to find an incandescent bulb. Your Christmas lights that are LEDs are not going to put off any heat. If you had some of the older C9s, just be careful because those are older lights.
Right.
Be careful you're not, don't do some damage or don't start a fire. But pretty much just having that covered, making sure that it's not laying on the plant.
I'm so amazed at the people. I literally heard this from somebody last week. We were talking about, you had said something about how to cover up the graft and everything. And we were talking over a few adult beverages.
Right.
And this buddy of mine who keeps a great garden, he's got bushes. He's one of those guys that he works 3-4 hours a weekend in his yard.
Okay.
To make sure everything
looks nice, yeah.
He goes, I just put my Christmas lights on it. That'll keep it warm enough. I go, do you have new Christmas lights or old? He goes, what's it matter? And it matters because LEDs aren't going to keep anything warm.
Yeah, LEDs don't get warm.
Back in the day, you put old Christmas lights on the bushes. They would keep the bushes warm.
Exactly. They put up just enough heat, and you just left them on at night, and you were okay. But nowadays, those lights
weren't going to set the green bushes on fire.
Nope.
And they kept them warm enough.
Yep.
Now that's not the issue. That doesn't happen.
Nope. Doesn't. And if you have any of the older lights, please be careful because they're old. The wiring and everything.
Have you ever had one of those pop on you?
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the scariest things. Yeah. Because when it pops, little shards of glass go everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really fine glass on those.
So what is the difference between a frost blanket and any other blanket, or can I use the quilts out of my older blankets?
You can.
Dog blankets, stuff like that.
Right, the old worn out sleeping bags and things like that. The difference on those is the weight of them. Is that they're heavy.
Right.
So when you try to put it over top of that plant, and sometimes we'll get a little rain or a little dew. They get soggy. They get heavy, heavy, heavy. Frost blanket is a woven material that's breathes, so it does let some air through. I mean, it doesn't keep it airtight or anything like that, but it does breathe a little bit. It's a little lighter weight. Some light will penetrate through it, so leaving it for a few days doesn't hurt the plant. If you were to throw the old quilt over the hibiscus, no light, it's heavy, you're apt to break some branches and maybe cause more damage than good.
We've talked about my mother.
I was going to say, you might wrap the old quilt around the bottom of it and then throw a sheet over.
Oh, yeah. I had thought about that. We talked numerous times about my mother, and she grew prize-winning roses.
Right.
I mean, meticulous about her roses. You know what she would do to cover her roses, and people would just
don't even need it.
No, but she would do it because she wanted to make sure there was
she
no
didn't lose
chance.
any buds.
No buds, okay? Because you will lose buds in a freeze.
In a hard enough freeze,
And we lived in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay.
Where it would get, there's a couple days a year, get 22, 23 degrees for 8-9 hours at a time. So she would literally, because she was a big oyster fan, that was her, she would eat a bushel of oysters by herself. This woman was an amazing person when it came to eating oysters.
Oysters are just delicious.
Okay. She would collect the croaker sacks.
Okay.
And she would use those as her blankets for her roses because they were, it kept the heat in because it would fit right over the roses. She would tin it.
Yep.
But it still let enough light in that she could leave them on for
enough air in. And if they got wet, they weren't going to get so heavy. Yeah.
She used croaker sacks.
And again, that's burlap.
Right.
Is what that is. It's a burlap sack. So, that's another item that people a lot of times, when we run out of...
I forget that people don't know what the word croaker is if you're not from the deep south. A burlap sack.
Burlap sack, yep. That's a...
I forgot the word croaker is not probably something that's nationwide.
No, could not. Yeah, possibly it's not.
But I always thought that was made sense because
it does,
they weren't heavy.
We'd
have...
they get a little heavy when you get a few of them together, just because there's
but
some
not the single one.
Right. Because they were actually a high quality material. Actually, is when when you're getting those. Those are a little heavier duty than some of the burlap you might find in the stores.
Well, because they didn't want the shells to rip them and everything.
Right, to tear through.
Right. So, but I'd never, as a young kid, we put burlap over all the rose bushes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just get and gather, and I know sometimes you go hit and or you can even do this if you've got some old sheets. Say you bought new linens last year or something, you saved the old sheets, and you've got big planters. You could sew them to fit, over top of it. Put you a bamboo cane or a palm frond stick in the middle there, pull it over, and it fits down around. You might, put a drawstring, should you want, or bungee cord around it to where it comes all the way down. What the object is to get it down to let the earth.
But sheets are thick enough.
Sheets can be okay. You realize you're only dealing with frost.
Right.
Frost. F-R-O-S-T. That F-R-E-E-Z-E. Is a whole different thing. If it's truly a freeze and not, your frost settling, a true freeze, all you're doing is maybe holding it a degree or two warmer.
Right.
Keeping the frost off is one thing to keep it from settling on. When we have a breeze that's going on, frost just doesn't hit the ground.
Well, yeah, last night my girlfriend said, do you want to put your mom, because we called the peace lily, we referred to my mom because it was her funeral. And so she was like, do you want to bring your mom in? And I walked outside to walk the dogs. And I come back in, I go, no, we don't need to bring her in. She goes, well, why? I go, because even if there was a frost tonight, the wind's blowing at about 10 miles an hour out here. It's not going to settle anyway. It's not going to
settle on anything.
Right.
So, but yeah, if it's really going to be a freeze, or they speak of hard freeze, which that's usually not till much later in the wintertime. The hard freeze are temperatures below
below 28
degrees for
more
6
than,
to 8 hours.
Right, exactly.
Right.
For more than 6 hours.
And that's when it will damage hardy plants. Those temperatures are the ones where if you pruned 6 weeks before, all the new growth that has come on is burnt and dead. Yeah. That's what will knock off every leaf off your citrus trees and sometimes kill it back to the graft. Those are the temperatures we worry about. This is going to be very annoying.
I was amazed at how resourceful the peace lily is, because there's been days where, I come home from a Friday night of adult libations
gathering and
forget to put the blanket on, and it gets 30 degrees, 29 degrees. But the one advantage was it was always on a porch up off the ground.
Right.
So heat could come up.
It was and it was on a porch, so protected by the rest of the building.
Right, protected, and so you'd wake up in the morning, she'd be wilted where the leaves were hanging down and touching.
And you go,
ooh,
Mom, I'm sorry.
And so I'd move her into the sun so she could get plenty of warmth. And I would usually use a lukewarm water solution to water her that morning.
Give her a good drink.
Right, and you'd come back 4 or 5 hours later. She's back up. Yeah. She's back up.
She's back up.
It's amazing how much sunlight and water can bring things back.
Warmth. Just being enough, and it might have been a little water stress to begin with, and that's part of that. So, but we don't want to run out at 4:00 in the afternoon and water the lawn.
No,
don't do that. If this was your water day, water it, but water morning.
Right.
So that the grass blades have a chance to dry, but that the soil will stay moist, and it's going to help to keep that grass
Is that
warm.
a mistake a lot of people make, is when they see their flash, especially in the summertime, they come home and they see all the wiltedness because the heat's got good. So they go, oh, God, I got to turn the sprinklers on. I got to go out and water it. Yeah. That's a bad thing.
It is, because we all wilt at 2:00 in the afternoon when it's 85 degrees out. That's what I tell people. I said, do you think I don't? I mean, I love the heat, but I wilt too at about that point. But come 6:00, as it cools off and the sun, some shadows come on, I perk back up and I have a cool, well, for me, I can have a cool drink.
Right.
But, usually your plants are okay. Don't just run out there and water everything because I need to water. Water it because you don't want it to be water stressed.
I always
or dry stress.
This may be a misnomer, but I'd heard from, the old guys around when my dad and all his buddies would get together, they'd talk about when you should, like you never cut grass that's wet, although I know that people do it all the time.
Because you have to.
Right, you do it. But people that never cut grass when it's wet because it'll clog up the mower.
It clumps and leaves piles on the lawn that you got to rake up.
And they would always say, never water your grass in the heat of the day because the water bubbles then get so hot that they could burn the grass. And I don't know if that was ever true or not.
I don't. Everybody has tried to say that it's like don't water the plants when it's hot in the afternoon, that it'll cause it to burn. Not really. I mean,
but you always hear that.
It can. I guess you could say that the magnification of the sun through the water droplet.
If it's on a leaf or something.
Yeah, but on your lawn, you really don't want to do it because it just evaporates.
It does.
It just
doesn't soak in. It goes away.
Yeah, it's just useless. Doesn't do any good. But our best time, to water, and even in the summertime, when the sun is, up longer, watering in that hot part of the day again is just kind of a waste because it's too hot for it, and that you still need those leaves to dry before the sun goes down.
And you hear people say all the time, but I drive by a golf course at 2 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon, and they got the sprinklers going on their greens and everything.
No, they're using reclaimed water.
And they're doing it to cool the greens off because they're cut so close that grass is near death anyway.
Right.
People forget that a green on a golf course is cut so close that it's almost dead.
Yeah, it's almost scalped.
And so you have to cool it off in the summer, or it will burn up
so frequently.
Right.
And a lot of times also people don't realize that some of the golf courses are water reclamation areas.
Of course.
And those retention ponds need to be drained down.
Right.
And that's where that water comes from And
Muni
it's re-put back onto the ground so that it will perk back through to the aquifer.
If it wasn't for Muni and the way they have it set up, Fort King and all that area back behind it would flood.
Yeah, it would be underwater.
40.
Yeah.
I remember 15 years ago, they would shut 40 down when it rained hard.
Yeah,
because there'd be 1.5 feet, 2 foot of water in 40 right there in front of the golf course.
Yeah, when they redid the monster pipe out there.
Right.
If anybody who's lived here any length of time recalls how
know
long
exactly
the
what that
medians
meant.
were just
Yeah.
all tore up. When they reworked that. Same thing on 441 south here by 31st Street. All the retention areas that when they made the 31st/32nd/42nd.
The flyover to get you to 200
that comes over
easier.
here to the mall. My route.
Yeah.
That they created all those retention areas and then had to modify some of the drainage off of 441 still because portions of that still flooded when we'd get the tropical storms or just heavy summer rains.
And we get those.
And it would come out, yeah. And there's still some areas, I think there's and that's where those retention ponds, that's what they do. They hold that water, they retain that water so that it will perk more slowly because it's storm water runoff. You don't want that to just run down the aquifer.
No.
You want it to collect somewhere and perk through slowly down to the aquifer as a filter.
How good is it, as long as you make sure you take precautions so you don't have a mosquito-infested area, how good is it to have a rain barrel?
Oh, they're fantastic to have. They're great to have. The rainwater, especially if you have, you take the precautions, you put the screening over, you use the little BT crystals or whatever, pellets in those to keep the mosquito larvae, from forming. But if you have, especially if you live and have city water, where you have fluoride and chlorine and things like that are not good for plants. If you have a water softener system that uses a salt base, on that, the salts are not good for your plants, so you need good water to water your plants. Some people aren't allowed to have rain barrels. But if you know it's going to rain, you quick set that 5-gallon bucket out there and catches some water up, and then go water the plants with it, or take the plants outside and let them get a good drink with the rainwater. And anytime we have our summer storms and we have that lightning, it ionizes that water, making it all the better for the plants too.
People say, yeah, but if I put the 5-gallon bucket out and it only rains 1.5 inches, how much water do I have? You don't have 1.5 inches of water. That 5-gallon bucket will
is probably going to capture. If you're worried about that, put out a couple.
Right.
Yeah, put something a little wider out. Maybe you got a tote that you can use.
Oh, I had not thought about a tote.
Put a tote out there, and that's a little easier, maybe even to dip your watering can in to be able to water your plants.
Now, what's the difference?
Cover it up.
What's the difference? Is there much difference between, say, well water that's not run through a softener and rainwater?
Well water's, if you don't have rainwater, well water would obviously be the best, to water your plants. But the rainwater, it does offer, especially with after a lightning storm, after thunderstorm, you get the ionization on that. And, just sometimes I think just the rainwater of everything that comes out, just the organic material that's in the air, that we breathe the pollens and things like that, catches in that water, and actually plants use it. You figure what healthy plants look like in a forest or in a park setting, and the only thing they're getting is rainwater, and they usually look pretty good.
You go to Cali,
and they always look better after a good rainstorm.
That's the one good thing about the Callaway Botanical Gardens in Callaway, Georgia.
Right.
People think that they take care of those with watering and everything. Right. It's completely rainwater.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only irrigation they use is Mother Nature.
Is what, yeah.
Now they do the pruning and they do the upkeep of flowers.
Right.
But the only irrigation
is what nature gives it. Yeah.
And it's an amazing garden.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never been to Callaway Gardens, you've missed a hidden gem.
Right.
It's an amazing place.
And any landscape that is properly planted, once it is established, really doesn't need irrigation.
Just rainwater. And in our area, maybe too much rainwater.
Yeah, at times, yes, it is. And especially if you happen to be in an area that may have some clay under there, where it doesn't drain off.
Gumbo clay.
That gumbo clay that we have in areas around here, or just some low areas. Maybe before you plant, you may think of adding soil or checking and see what's growing there. If you had any issues, if you've got dollarweed coming up in the landscape, turn your sprinklers off.
It's too wet.
It's too wet. Dollarweed is a native aquatic plant.
Right. People don't realize dollarweed is in the water lily family.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look at the leaf. It looks a lot like a water lily.
Yeah.
And the root system is a white, very, very stringy, very widespread. But it's like a single. You can chase that root down, and if you can manage to get it going up, just don't break it off because there it'll come back.
We got about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
The next 24 to 48 hours, 10 being the most precaution you should take, 1 being the least precaution you should take. Where's the next 24 to 48 hours if you're talking about plants that are susceptible to cold?
I'm going to put it up there at like an 8 or 9, only because this is the first one. And that we've been a little bit
8 hours.
And it's 8 hours, and we've been a little more on the warm side, and the high winds too. That it's just drying things out right now. So I would water, move things in if you can. The tender. The
peace lily's coming in. It's coming in the garage.
Yeah, Mom's got to come in the garage. If you've got potted plants, you could gather them together, put the frost blanket on them, or like I said, if you got a place in the house, make a place that they can spend the rest of the winter.
Can I put the peace lily? I got a window in my garage that the sun beams through about 6 hours a day.
Coming through the window is apt to burn, but you could put it. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Put it where it's in the bright section of that. But yeah.
Tell people where they can find out more, Carol Ann.
They can find out more on the In the Garden page on Facebook. It's a group page. Ask to join, or if you want to hunt me down in Lowe's and Lady Lake.
She'll be down there with her hands in the flowers with the bees.
Actually, that are my hands today and my pockets with the hand warmers in there.
And no flip-flops on?
And no flip-flop, no.
I got mine on.
I might have my knit hat on. I got
mine on.
Yeah.
Carol Ann Baldwin here with us every week. Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin in the garden, 622-9622. Next week, she'll be back. She'll take your calls. You're listening. Yeah, thanks, Carol Ann. You're listening to Ocala Talks with Tom Schmitz, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA. Wait, I'm way early, see? I thought we were getting out late, now I'm like 8 seconds early. I never like being, Joe Martone's the early guy. I'm not the early guy. WOCA, the source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Reports are coming in from the Middle East. An Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander was killed by a drone strike along the Syrian-Iraq border on Tuesday. Iran denies the event took place and will continue to look into this. The Supreme Court heard arguments Monday over President Trump's directive to exclude illegal immigrants in the country from the 2020 census count. The census determines the number of House seats each state gets and the allocation of funding to states. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger said state officials are investigating third-party groups trying to register people in other states to vote in the Georgia Senate runoffs.
These third-party groups have a responsibility to not encourage illegal voting. If they do so, they will be held responsible.
The investigations are into at least 4 groups. Efforts come ahead of the January 5th Senate runoffs that will determine control of the U.S. Senate. We are USA Radio News.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
The product that you have given me here is, as far as I'm concerned, sent to me from heaven. I love it a great deal. It's hard to find anything that's real nowadays. I enjoy it immensely. It's making my life so much better. I feel so much better. And during this pandemic, I have no worries whatsoever. My immune system has got to be at a top-notch level. I don't seem to get colds or anything. I don't know what getting sick is anymore. This is so cool.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 800-246-8751. That's 800-2468-751. Or by going to balanceofnature.com and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code USA.
It's time for Farm and Ranch headlines on the Southeast AgNet. I'm Tyron Spearman reporting. The European Union slammed new tariffs on in-shell peanuts and peanut kernels at the level of 25%. The tariffs went into effect on Tuesday, November the 10th. The tariffs are authorized by the World Trade Organization, and it's a retaliation of the European Union against the U.S. over government subsidies of Boeing and Airbus, which they're helping to keep jobs in America. Well, this week, the United Kingdom says they do not expect to finish talks with the U.S. on that free trade agreement before President Donald Trump leaves office on January the 20th, but hopes to wrap up a deal in the early months of President-elect Joe Biden's administration. That was told this week. The UK knows Biden can talk about fixing the American economy for the American worker before turning his attention to any trade agreements. But right now, we believe it is oversimplification to then conclude he has no interest in doing a free trade agreement with us. It would be the biggest single free trade agreement that the U.S. has done if they can negotiate a deal with the European Union. UK negotiators are continuing to meet with the Trump administration and the supporters on Capitol Hill to see if it can really pick this up as soon as the new administration is able to talk about it. But the 25% tariff continues right now, and they're trying their best to either work with Trump or move on to Biden.
A toast to soil health.
More and more landowners and their farmers are celebrating healthy soil for good reason, because farmers who use soil health building practices like no-till and cover crops and who use diverse species and rotations report greater farm productivity, profitability, and resiliency. So here's to your soil's health. Contact your local USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service office today and learn how to unlock the secrets in your soil. This message brought to you by USDA and this radio station.
I'm Tyron Spearman for Southeast AgNet.
When it really counts, depend on the source for the latest weather updates, keeping you ahead of the storm. 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
Sunny much of the time today and cooler with a high of 60 to 64. Record low temperatures tonight. Clear and colder, low 36 to 45. Wednesday will be mostly sunny and cool with a high of 62 to 70. Some sunshine Thursday, then turning cloudy with a high of 74 to 77. Mostly cloudy Friday, high 77 to 80. Showers and thunderstorms possible on Saturday. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line and a new spoiler and a new truck.
Yep, we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too.
Well, as a matter of fact, join me, Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Automotive, every Tuesday at 10 for auto repair with personal care right here on The Source.
Auto repair with personal care. We know what we're talking about. Matt Gibbs and the guys over at Sunrise Automotive will treat you right. We'll treat you right.
Welcome to Auto Repair with Personal Care with Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Auto. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Tom?
Let me turn your mic up a little higher.
Okay.
There we go. There we go. I'm good. First cold snap of the year is upon us. And it's going to get below freezing tonight for a little bit. And that means there's some things people might need to do to weatherize their cars.
Well, now's a good time to make sure that coolant's good.
Yeah. Be a good time to do that.
And we call it antifreeze. Usually we call it coolant because it's usually hot.
Yeah, but because of the coolant like we use, is most coolant nowadays, even though it's in Florida, it's still good for it. It can get below freezing for a while. Yeah. And it's not going to bother it.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's good as far as the actual chemical itself, the coolant itself. There's synthetic coolants and out there, and they last a lot longer and stuff like that. But you should always check and make sure that that you're still
tolerance. How important is it? When I was a little kid, growing up. When it got cold, grew up in Jacksonville and then Atlanta, where it was a little colder, and in South Georgia, it was all colder than it is here. But when I was growing up as a kid, my dad, who was a mechanic, I would say a master mechanic, although back then there wasn't no ASC certified and everything. You work on cars for 25 years, you kind of know what you're doing. And he would always say that he went out and warmed up the car because it gets the oil moving through the engine and everything, and it helps to warm the car up before you put the transmission in gear and everything. Is that still the case today, or have we come far enough along that that's not the case?
This morning, I started my car before I drove.
Now, did you do that for the heater, or did you do that because it's good for the car?
Both. and the good thing is, I started it from my...
Yeah, I start mine from my kitchen.
House.
Exactly. I got mine with the button. Your wife had the same car I got.
Yeah.
Button from the kitchen.
Yep.
I actually opened the garage, the door leading out to the garage with the garage door closed. The car's outside.
Yep.
And I heard the horn beep.
Yep.
And then I heard it start up. And I was like, okay. Shut the door, went back in, finished eating my breakfast, actually.
So last night when I was coming home from work, I knew it was going to be cold this morning, and I even preset my temperature.
So now, when I got in the car this morning, it was a warm 70 degrees.
There you go. But it is good for the motor. It's good to have things lubricated. It's actually even good when it's hot outside, but we just don't.
Right.
It's better. It's better when it's hot outside because it's warm.
Huh.
But because everything settles.
Right.
Some of the cars that when we change oil, some of them are required to have a check valve in it, which means it lets oil go in the oil filter. But when you shut it off, it doesn't allow the oil to drain out of the oil filter, so it's always up in there. So when you start it, it doesn't have to fill up that space.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's definitely better to warm it up and let it get to operating temperature or somewhere close to it.
Yeah,
and it's really better to do it both ways when it's hot or cold. But
really, I didn't realize it was better to just do it when it's.
It really is better, but we're not gonna do that.
Is it safe to say the most violent time for all your parts in your car, the pistons and the rings, the parts that are banging against each other? Is it safe to say the most violent time for them is at ignition?
Yeah, especially First ignition.
Right, first ignition.
A lot of the engines, like a lot of the, I hate to, but a lot of Ford, Dodge, a lot of timing chain motors.
Right.
You'll start it up and you hear, and it goes away. That's because oil is getting to everything where overnight, all the oil's gone back into the oil pan. Now we got to get oil everywhere where the oil is now gone.
Right, because if you don't, it's just metal on metal.
It's just, all the tensioners and stuff, and the chains are flopping, and a lot of those timing chain tensioners they're projected out. They're held out by oil pressure. So if all the oil pressure's gone, then and they rattle, and that's what some of the Chevrolet motors. I don't really understand why they did it, but back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Chevrolet reduced the size. You know what a piston is?
Right.
And then the piston has a skirt. Well, they shortened the skirts on a lot of the GM pistons, which causes them to, when they're cold, because understand now, metal contracts and expands.
Just like everything else.
Okay, so what they were having a lot of issues with, we call it first startup knock. Yeah, I mean, you could hear a knock,
could hear knock, until the engine heated up, and then it went away.
And then they came out, so their fix was, that's when we started making that transition from conventional motor oil to synthetic motor oils. So Mobil 1 was the repair, was the fix.
For the knocking motor.
This knocking
And you
motor.
always heard it was bad gas that caused that knocking motor first off.
Well, that was a different type of knock.
Right. But people said, well, no, the knocking's bad gas. I go, but that's not the same knock.
That's a different knock.
We're not talking about the knock that when your car won't shut off and it's still running.
They don't do that no more, thank God.
But remember they used to. That was the funniest.
That used to be funny.
That was hilarious. Now, my dad used to say, talking about GM products, that people would come in and they'd bring in these cars and they'd have a 396 in it or something. My old man would say, engine's not very good. I go, what do you mean? It's 396. I bored it out. I did, doing all this mechanic speak. He goes, wasn't smoking when you drove it in. My dad said a 396 smoked out of the GM factory.
And leaked oil, too.
And leaked oil. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He said it smoked because it leaked oil.
Yeah.
Good motor, but it just smoked and leaked oil. That's not an issue anymore with these cars.
No, they pretty much got that stuff fixed. Lord knows how many rear main oil seals I did in my day. Good Lord have mercy. You just couldn't. I remember. You remember back in the 70s, just like 78, GM came out with the diesel cars.
Yes.
Oh, what a mistake that was. But we were putting in so many. I did 2 in a day. I'd put 2 engines in a car in a day. Mm-hmm. And then we'd get a brand new engine from GM, and it was wrapped up in a bag on a crate. Mm-hmm. There's oil in the bag.
Oil in the bag.
It leaked before you ever put it in the car.
Oh, yeah. My dad said a 396 that doesn't smoke is not a good motor.
That's right.
How much has the way technology has changed in the last 20 years with computers and everything, how much has that changed how you have to winterize your cars and stuff like that? Or is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, for winterizing, it really... I just don't see it. The change is incredible. People don't understand. I mean, you go back and look at an old vintage car, and I guess we would consider, my age group, we're looking back to the 50s maybe?
Yeah. Well, no, I would think vintage cars for you and I, a 72 Nova Super Sport, that'd be a vintage car.
Okay.
A 70 Chevelle.
Yeah.
74 Buick Riviera.
Yeah, okay.
Those are cars that you can still take, gaskets and gas covered cars, and they had carburetors on. You still use the cool little gun with the light to set the points and everything. That's probably, those were still easy to work on.
Yeah.
Before you had to hook a computer to them.
Yeah. So in our era.
Before the gas embargo, any car before the gas embargo, any car before Toyota and Datsun got here. How about that? Is that good enough to say?
That's like pre-74.
Right.
So.
Any car, anytime before the Datsun.
The Datsun. Okay. All right.
So that would be a vintage car.
So from that point, from just that point to now,
it's ridiculous how much has changed.
People don't understand. I would love for people to come and just say, okay, so how I just did an update on a computer yesterday.
Right.
We had to replace the TCM transmission control module on one of these new Allison, one of the GM diesels with the Allison transmission and everything. It was actually a transmission control module that was causing the truck, you'd be driving along and stop at a stop sign, it goes into neutral all by itself. And then all of a sudden, boom, it goes back into gear. And it's all controlled by a computer.
Right.
So this particular truck, so what I do is, and this is something I do, if I have to replace that module, I will go through all the operating